Hello, I'm Abigail DeJarnatt.
My name is Allison Lind.
I'm your host, Grant May.
My name's Noelle Fitchett.
And welcome
back
to the Counteract Podcast. All right, welcome back to the Counteract Podcast. I'm here with Allie Paris. We are officially done with the 2024 Resolve to Stand conference. It was absolutely incredible, phenomenal. Don't even have words to put it fully, we're going to try to do that today. We'll try to do better than what I just did. That's kind of what we're here to do, is to kind of do a recap of the weekend, what it was like. Have Allie here. The Lord is just so gracious and kind. Like, his goodness is so abundant and evident in everything that happened this weekend and everything that's to come. So glad to have Allie here today. Allie, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
All right, so Allie, give us kind of the breakdown of the weekend. What was it like leading up to the conference, ramping in? Give us some of the logistics. Allie's the logistics girl. I'm usually the word girl. Allie's the logistics girl. Give us kind of the BTS.
Behind the scenes. Of course, I can do that. So the week leading up, crazy. I think I probably have maybe about 200 unanswered emails, texts that did not specifically pertain to the conference. So they probably didn't get answered. So sorry, working on catching up on all of those. But it was crazy, but it was awesome. Really, everything just kind of came together last minute. I know we had mentioned earlier, but we were in a new venue space. And so I had done a walkthrough that Thursday. I was meeting a few people there to do a walkthrough, and they had, and we'll hopefully be able to put a picture.
Giant hazmat construction zones that I was unaware of. Allie apparently didn't tell me about this on Thursday night. So we walked in on Friday morning to 20 feet tarps and plastic hazmat zones.
We'll definitely put a picture up because it was crazy. I was made aware of this on Tuesday, but I was told that it was supposed to be gone on Monday. So one of our Counteract guys is actually like one of the the facilities managers there. And he sent me a message. He said, hey, nothing to worry about. It's supposed to be gone. It was actually supposed to be gone yesterday, but just wanted to give you a heads up. I was like, well, if it's supposed to be gone yesterday, then we're good. And then we show up Thursday and it's still there. And I start talking to some of the church staff and they said, well, we've called and they know it needs to come down, but they're just still not here. So
what I was informed of when I walked in is we'll know within the hour if it can come down before the conference.
This is Friday.
This is Friday of the conference that starts on Friday. And I said, if it comes down. So for me, this was definitely an example of what it looks like to trust God in, I would say, small moments. So this is like not that small. Like, this is our conference, and this is been working for this all year, but I know that I sometimes can get really stressed out on the details, like the logistics, like, oh my gosh, the whole conference will be ruined if there are construction areas in here. Oh my gosh, surely this is just going to just ruin everything. And that's when the Lord kind of got a hold of my heart, and I realized, you know what, Lord, and again, this is no fault of the church, by the way. This is all like there was a tornado, and the construction team is just taking longer. Like, sometimes that just happens. The church was so gracious, and they're like, anything that we can do. But I was having to just sit there. I had to kind of take a moment while we were setting up and just pray. I was like, okay, Lord, you provided this venue. You provided this team. The church team is behind us. You can accomplish your will in a field. You can accomplish it without this conference. It doesn't matter what it looks like inside the venue. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. And I went back into the room. I was looking at how do we reroute our copious amounts of pipe and drape to kind of cover the construction zones. And that is when one of the pastors walked up and said, hey, we got the all clear that the construction can come down. I don't know when the team's going to be there, but I don't care. Yeah. And so we got all of our Counteract guys. We were like, guys, it's demo day. Get into the sanctuary at the gym thing now. Start tearing stuff down. Talk about tearing down high places. Da-da-da, da-da.
They're like on the forklifts, or what are those things called? Yeah. They like go all the way up. Yeah. And they literally have saws and they're just like cutting down the pipe and all the everything. And it was quite hilarious. But also, we had awesome volunteers there. I think we ended up having about 45 to almost 50 Counteract members, local members that just jumped in, volunteered throughout the entire weekend. And I can't tell you how many compliments I kept getting on, wow, your team was so friendly walking in, or your registration crew was awesome, or the lunch team, or whatever it was. They were just so helpful and so amazing. And what they didn't know is that probably like 20 of them had been there since 8 a.m. Friday morning, helping with all the demo, steaming a gajillion tablecloths.
Because we believe in steaming at Counteract USA.
We do. And DeJarnatt really does. And so doing all that and getting everything set up, and our media crew was awesome. And we were able to film so many podcasts with our speakers and get all of that kind of just stuff squared away. But the event ended up being incredible. That Thursday evening before the event, we were able to do just like a small worship night with some of our Counteract cell members. Some people had already flown in by that time. So that was just a kind of a sweet time of prayer just to kick off the event. That led into Friday. It was so fun to also just see all the speakers show up. I mean, a lot of these are just our friends. And so having them in our hometown was super fun. And then we get to the time when everybody starts to show up. I mean, it's 5:00, doors are open, and it starts off a little slow. And I heard that there was some wrecks on the interstate, and there's, people are slowly starting to trickle in. And at this point, this is where I'm like, okay, Lord, we had over 500 people bought tickets. I mean, like our ticket sales just spiked in the last couple of weeks. And so we were super pumped with that. But then it's again of like how many people of those 500 plus will actually show up. And so I'm upstairs kind of in the green room talking to some speakers, and I'm like, I don't think I can go down there. Like it's kind of slow. I don't want to see an empty room. Like I don't think I can go down there. And they kick off, and Abby's mom comes in the door, and this is while Abby was speaking. And I said, how does it look? And she goes, oh, it's full. I was like, it's full? She's like, it's packed out there. And so when Victor Marx went to speak, I went down there, and we had like 30 plus people just standing. Yeah. So it was so fun. Friday night was incredible. We then went into a dessert reception with Victor Marx. That was so fun. Again, we had purchased books to sell for Victor, and we sold out of those in like maybe 10 minutes. And we had so many people saying like, do you have more books? Do you have more books? Like, no, we just didn't know how many we needed to buy. So that was super fun, super special time of just him like talking with everybody who came through the line, taking a few minutes with each person. So yeah, those were some of the fun ones. We had we showed the 1916 project, and that was optional. We were just the
White Rose Resistance, their new film that's come out. We had AJ Hurley, their director of activism, and so we were like we could do like kind of a late night showing after our event Friday, and we didn't know. I thought like some of our volunteers might stick around, but it would just be fun.
Yeah, we had over 100 people stay for that, and we were able to give out popcorn. It was super fun, and everybody loved it. They were like, that was powerful. So that was great. And then we head into Saturday. Now, Friday evening, Abby and we had gotten a hotel, and at like 3 a.m, I think Abby moved or I moved or something.
It takes me like my family, we lived in like 1,000 square feet for like 4.5 years. And so that means like bunk beds in the kitchen, like all siblings are like sleeping. You have to learn how to absolutely fall asleep. It does not matter what distractions are out there. I can fall asleep in 2 seconds anywhere. It took me forever to fall asleep. Just the adrenaline, and then like, Lord, like you're so good. I was just like praying and like worshiping, but just like adrenaline. And I'm like, okay, we have 2/3 of this event still to go. But it took me forever to fall asleep. And then I like did the thing where you like wake up 10 minutes before your alarm. I'm like, okay, it's like 5:30. It's time to get up, get ready. I look at the clock. It was 3. And I was like, all right, we have slept for like 1.5 maybe hours. I actually did fall asleep for like a little bit. And so I tossed, I turned. Again, this is not my MO. I'm just sitting there thinking about all that's going to happen tomorrow. Again, we're still just doing well. And then I hear Allie's phone click. And I literally was just like, oh, you're up too? She's like, up. What do you mean? I haven't been asleep. And we just turned on the lights, grabbed some snacks, talked for the next hour and a half. We were just so excited. Actually, fun fact, her aunt is a popular was a popular Christian artist in her era. And for fun, we turned on a Twyla Paris album.
We did not. We did no such thing. Abigail DeJarnatt was like, this is going to be funny. Anyway, I love my aunt dearly. It was very funny. I was like, this is a weird fever dream. I'm not sure I'm okay with this.
But I was eventually lulled to sleep for like 45 more minutes. So thank you, Aunt Twyla.
And then we kicked off Saturday. I checked ticket sales Saturday morning. And again, people were still buying tickets 1 hour before the event ended on Saturday. I mean, we had people trickling in the entire time. It was a full event. And I had thought we had added this thing, the student mixer this year at 8 a.m. And I was like, okay, maybe 40 to 50 students will sign up. It's free, but it's also 8 a.m. And I checked our ticket sales to see how many chicken minis and donuts I needed to buy that morning. It's maybe 6:30 in the morning. We have almost 90 students signed up. And I was like, okay, that's more food, but we also need like bigger classrooms and we need to just get to the church. So we got to the church, got the classroom set up, and we had a packed room for the student mixer. So many students came. All the organizations were able to talk to them. That was so fun, something I definitely want to continue. And then we headed into day 2. And I think day 2, and again, it's so funny. Abby and I were in completely different spots the entire time. Abby was, I think, backstage a lot of the time. Okay, stuck in the podcast room doing interviews, which is so good. I was running around, I felt like the entire time, like a crazy lady. But at one point, this was Saturday morning, and they're like, okay, so you're going to go on stage and basically just dismiss for a break. And I was like, okay, cool. What mic do I use? And they're like, well, you're going to use the mic that's already on stage when the guy who leads worship finishes. And I was like, okay. And they're like kind of trying not to tell me some stuff I could very quickly tell. I was like, we have 13 mics right here, and you want me to use the one that's being used currently? And like, we are completely locked out of our system entirely. And I think that was another like quick little panic. But were you aware of that? At what point?
Oh, I knew all morning that the sound booth was just it's a new soundboard, and this is just again like kind of like back to the logistics of everything. New soundboard, and so some of the stuff was just a little glitchy, but I think it's just so cool how the Lord continued to provide, and anything that would try to I guess thwart what the Lord was doing or even cause alarm.
Church. We literally opened with church Saturday morning. We had a pastor come and speak that led right into worship in a time of prayer,
which was so cool.
Yeah, but in my head, I was like, okay, well, are we going to have sound for like the guitar? Is the guy leading worship even going to be able to like hear himself? And that didn't matter at all when it came time to that. It was a special moment, and I got to be in there for like literally 30 seconds before I had to head backstage. But going back to videos and pictures I've seen, it looked pretty awesome.
It was. I actually got to be in the room for worship, and it's true. The guitar did not have audio, and the mic was good to go, but it just didn't matter. Number one, our volunteers just working together, being so on mission together that it didn't become, it wasn't a problem. We were just able to keep going because the focus was worship. The focus was, what is the Lord going to do here? And so worship was so powerful. I got to be in the room. People were praying for each other. The attendees were praying for each other out. The people, hands fully surrendered, worshiping. The whole event was just there. It was so worshipful. Everything was so worshipful. Just the concept, the idea that 500 believers from not only across Northwest Arkansas, we had people that drove in from Florida, people that drove in from Texas, just that we were in Missouri, just that we were aware of, that were there to be encouraged and equipped, not only by what the speakers had to say, but by the fact that there were other believers in the room that not only believed what they believed, but why they believed it, because of the gospel. There's just nothing like that sort of true iron sharpens iron community, because the quote unquote energy in the room isn't energy. It's the Holy Spirit. It's the Holy Spirit moving and empowering people, being humbled before him, convicted by him to to resolve to stand, to go out and do something, to become a Josiah generation, to rewrite narratives, to actually go and do. The feedback that we've gotten has just been really humbling. It's just been totally humbling to see what the Lord is doing in hearts and minds. Again, hearts and minds that will have votes, that will influence policies, yes, but it's about the kingdom and the glory of God that we're seeing. And in a conference about rewriting narratives, we've had multiple media asks interest, lots of media interest in, hey, we're told that young people are not religious and they are not political, but we're seeing that that's maybe not true. And we're seeing an organization of young people that are not only very religious, quote unquote, they're Christian, but they want to be involved in political conversations. This goes against everything that we're told. Can we talk to some of your people? Can we start exploring what a story on this would look like? So in a conference about rewriting narratives, the Lord's allowing doors to open to rewrite narratives. So again, we don't know what the full ramifications of like those specific asks will look like. But if you're listening to this, please be praying that the Lord does continue to use not only what he's doing in Counteract, but what he's doing in young believers across the country who are getting involved to rewrite those narratives, to offer hope to a culture, to a generation that's looking for answers. And we know that the only answer is Jesus. For people that are our parents' age, our grandparents' age, that maybe don't have hope for our generation, for our nation, may we be a part of reminding them that our hope isn't in our nation. It's in the kingdom of God. It's in Jesus alone. It's in the fact that he went to the cross. He died for our sins. He defeated sin and death when he rose victoriously from the grave. And that is what we have to cling to. As I've been praying throughout the days coming out of the conference, and just what's just been in my heart, my mind over and over again that's so different about the people that we're friends with, all the speakers, like Allie was talking about, all the speakers, the young ones, the older ones, was that there's an eternal focus. I heard several of the speakers say that on the podcaster panel. I loved the podcaster panel. We're putting that on the Counteract podcast very soon, so just stay tuned. But I think it was Grant May that was talking about how at the end of the day he's reminded that this world is not his home. And I heard several of the speakers reiterate that point. And what would our culture look like? What would our generation look like if we were more eternity minded, eternity focused? If we had our mind, yes, fixed on Jesus to do the things that we do in our day-to-day lives, but what if it was because we know that this world is not our home, so that we could sit on the sidelines and say, well, this life is but a vapor, but this life is but a vapor. And this is our opportunity to proclaim the gospel of Jesus, to proclaim the name of Jesus and the glory of God. And that was that was my takeaway from the conference, seeing the Lord move in that way, seeing the Lord move even in my heart, even just walking off the stage and going, wow, Lord, like you are so good. It was just so evident and obvious that everything that could go wrong probably went wrong in some way or another. The Lord is gracious and provided, but the Lord's plan cannot be prevented or thwarted. He's just giving us an opportunity to be a part of what he's doing in our generation, in our nation. And my prayer is that this is just one opportunity. This is just one moment that he uses to bring revival into the heart of his church. Not just the resolve to stay in conference, but what he's doing in individual hearts and minds that will have a ripple effect, not only in Northwest Arkansas, but in Missouri, Florida, Texas, wherever people are coming from in our speakers' lives, that we are encouraged, spurring one another on to love and good works, to love our country well, to love our countrymen well, to advance the gospel through these key issues by being resolved to stand, by tearing down the high places. And so I'm just really, really, really excited about all that the Lord is doing. Allie, what was your kind of like key takeaway? What did the Lord kind of do in your heart over the weekend?
There's a lot, but I think it, for me, definitely goes back to trusting the Lord with all your heart, and leaning not on our own understanding, but acknowledging him in that, and he will make, the path straight. Like for me, leading up to this conference, like you said, a lot did go wrong, and that rested on us and me and you in different areas. And so I think there was times where I was like, okay, it's maybe time to go hide in a hole and just cancel the entire event. Like, this is not okay. But but taking the step back and remembering first that we do need to go back to the Lord and seek him first and everything, and that he will provide. And so just trusting, like, by the time Friday night came, it wasn't until like you were like probably halfway into your speech that I did finally get off the couch talking to somebody and was like, okay, I will go look. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, Lord, yep, like you did it again. That was pretty cool. So yeah, that was, I think, the biggest thing. And there were so many other like very cool special moments that happened throughout the entire team or the entire time. And just different people we met. A lot of the speakers, Victor Marx and his whole team were incredible. So sweet, so gracious. We love Chaz.
We love you.
And all the speakers that came, I mean, they were so incredible. But yeah, I think that was probably mine. What about yours?
Well, I just shared mine. I shared like a whole monologue there. You were yawning. You were tired. We haven't had Celsius yet today. We're trying to break the Celsius addiction from the conference.
I don't have one. Abby does. Abby was drinking 2 Celsiuses a day at the conference. I would maybe go through half of one, and I have not had it in months. But no, we haven't really taken time quite yet to recover from the conference, just because there was lots of loose ends that needed to be tied up, but not a lot of sleep, but we will get it back. But yeah, I did hear your key takeaway. Anything else you want to like talk about? Anything funny? Any like hilarious, funny, cool things that came from the event?
I mean, hilarious. I don't know.
Did you crowd surf?
I was in my room last night, and all of a sudden I realized I forgot to fulfill my promise of crowd surfing. So, Paige Nelson, if you're listening, there were several others actually that requested crowd surfing, but I failed, but we will a rain check most assuredly. Do you have something to add?
I do. I have something fully to add. Whoops, almost lost my phone. Yeah, Abby, not only did she not crowd surf, but she didn't even let me rickroll our speakers, okay? On our speaker badges, we had like the schedule and like different like check out Counteract USA as QR codes on the back. And I was like, our speakers don't need this. We could just take it off. And I was like, or hear me out. So that was also a bit of a bummer, but it's okay. Next year, be prepared for some fun things like that.
We just reached a point in preparation where I was like, I don't care. It might be funny. I don't know. I can't gauge what I think is funny right now because everything is either really funny or really not funny. But no, we really this year I feel like it was just such a different event. It was seeing our team come together, like our intern team, absolutely phenomenal, media teams, all the volunteer teams. Like it's so cool because these are our friends. Like these are the people that we do life with, and to see everyone just like working together towards a specific end, a goal, a cause, like that is like super encouraging. That's why we do Counteract USA. I think for me, just kind of another moment that I will just kind of treasure forever is we had done all this preparation, and in even the maybe 48 hours leading up to the conference, I was unwell, could barely eat. And my mom was like, well, what are you worried about? Like, what's left? I was like, Mom, I think it's me psyching myself out because we are ready. We've done everything we know to do to be ready. And so then we go into our worship night that Thursday night, like Allie was talking about before the conference, and we're just worshiping. We're just giving it back to Jesus. We're singing the song, I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here's where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. Here, this is my surrender. This is my surrender. And that was when I was like, oh, now we're ready. Being in a room with 20 plus young adults singing, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world. You can have all this world. And they were singing loudly and passionately and fervently. And that's the momentum that I am so excited about post-conference. People ask a lot post-conference, what's next for Counteract USA? We kind of got into that question on our pre-conference episode, but we were just like very, very, very tired then. So all you could really think about was conference. But there are so much in store. I'm so excited about what the Lord is doing through the podcast and just the podcasters that we have. Lots of incredible feedback on that. But then also on Saturday, or not Saturday, on Sunday, we added our first ever cell leaders retreat. And we weren't really sure how that was going to go because like we prepared, but also like the big thing was the conference, the logistics and the production of the conference. And so the cell leaders retreat was at my house. We had cinnamon rolls. Our board was there. We like went through some of our new programs for our cell leaders. We had cell leaders there from New York City, from Florida, from Pennsylvania, Missouri, all across Arkansas who came in. And it was just so life-giving. I mean, it was so encouraging. Like the community that is spread out across the country, but came together, that are on mission together, that built me up in some really real ways. Like it was just absolutely so humbling because we're there in my parents' basement where Counteract started, where I thought that, Counteract would just end up being kind of a discussion group with my, I'm going to hand it over to you in just a second. You have the funny stories. I'm talking about a heart thing here. Give me just a second. No, but I was sitting there and I was, from where I was sitting, I was looking like up at the stairs going up to my parents' upstairs. And I remember one of our friends, Alex Varvel, she was coming down. She was not Alex Varvel at the time. She came down the stairs and it was 30 minutes before Counteract started. And she was, I was like, hi. I was doing dishes and she was like, is this Counteract? I was like, yes. Who are you? What's your name? And she's like, oh my gosh, am I early? I'm like, you're early. It's okay. No worries. And then flash forward and Alex is here. Her husband that she met through Counteract is like also sitting in the room on Sunday, who helped with all of our media and production. And they met at Counteract and they live in like on my parents' land now. And it's just so wild to see the goodness of God and then the fact that he is the one bringing people together. Like there's no explanation for what is occurring at Counteract USA apart from him. And there can be no explanation for what happens moving forward. But before we get into moving forward, Allie has a funny story.
I mean, it's not that funny, but she said like the basement. I was at a table and like the basement gets brought up a lot. We're like, you don't have to use a basement if you don't want to. A lot of people use basements. They work out pretty well. But I was talking to one of our board members and then another guy and they're like, this is the first time we have been in the basement. We feel like it's like a rite of passage for Counteract. No. They were like, they're like, we didn't even know what to expect. It wasn't this, but we have now made it to the basement.
Chill basement.
We feel like we're in. They were like, we are now a part of Counteract, that we have made it to the basement. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's good. I didn't know that happened. Yeah, we did say something because Nick Kirkman, his men's cell, they also started meeting in a basement. We were like, just to be clear, we're not a cult here. Your basement isn't like a requirement, but we just happen to have some basements. And so, it was so amazing. So I'm very, very excited about what the Lord is going to do through the cell program moving forward as we continue to interact with. We've gotten so many inquiries from new cell leaders across the country as we continue to see these cells form. Our curriculum team launching in 2025. We have a series of curriculum discussion guides that will be going out in several different formats, several different ways. They're amazing. Like this team, they are so thoughtful. They are so prayerful as they're writing these things. There's several different things that are in store, but we're really, really excited about what God is doing, because that's the thing. It's like we are just here saying, okay, Lord, here we are. What doors would you have for us as we all continue, all of us, not just Allie and me. Counteract USA, just to be clear, is not just Allie and me. It is hundreds of people that are on mission together, that believe in what God is doing in our generation, who haven't given up hope on our generation, but are ready to see things change for the gospel of Jesus and the glory of God. So the conference, even though we're tired and the fall, Allie has literally been yawning this entire episode. We really should have given her at least a little bit of a Celsius before we started. Because Celsius is not a sponsor, but sponsor us, Celsius. But no, we are tired physically, but we are just so excited about what God did last weekend and what he is doing and what he's going to do moving forward. Allie, do you have anything else to add before we go?
I mean, we did have some pretty awesome sponsors and exhibitors there, including our podcast sponsor, Patriot Mobile came. Abby, tell us about Patriot Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I knew you were going to serve me up for this. Yes. If you haven't already switched to Patriot Mobile, I don't know what you're doing. you should get on patriotmobile.com right now, because if you're like so many Americans who have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values, then it's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, which is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Allie, they're an example of putting the cause ahead of the profits, which is why we at Counteract USA are super proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. Patriot Mobile supports the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of human life, military veterans, and first responder heroes. Their 100% based U.S. customer service team gives you the coverage, the service that you need, so they'll help you find the best plan to fit your needs. You can keep your number, you can keep your phone, or you can upgrade. You can just go to patriotmobile.com/counteract. That's patriotmobile.com/counteract, or call 972-PATRIOT. If you use offer code Counteract USA, Allie, what do you get?
You get a free month for free.
A free month for free.
You get a whole month. Your first month for free.
And all you have to do is go to patriotmobile.com, use offer code, patriotmobile.com/counteract, use offer code Counteract USA, or call 972-PATRIOT. So join us. Make the switch today. That's patriotmobile.com/counteract, patriotmobile.com/counteract, or call 972-PATRIOT. Thank you so much for joining us, for praying with us. Stay tuned. Be subscribed to our newsletter. Be following us on social media so that you'll get the details for the next Resolve to Stand conference, because it's going to be here before we know it.
It's going to be epic.